Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Safe Room. I'm your host, the President Sean Williams. I'm back here with another episode, and today I got a very special guest. I'm excited to have this conversation. Now, you may know that probably a while back we had a conversation on real estate. Well, you know what? It was so nice we had to bring it back twice, and today we have someone who considers themselves the Mindful Realtor. All right, like to peep the name, the Mindful Realtor. I love it. I absolutely love it. And we're gonna get into real estate even more. And the funny thing about this, she was someone that was like, I don't know if I should come on because you had this previous guest. And like, I don't know if I can bring my overall. I was like, come on. I know there's stuff that you need to share that everyone needs to hear, but we're gonna get into all of that. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, we have the wonderful, the talented Miss Talia Thomas. Talia, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing so good. I'm excited to be here. I love that intro. That was great. Sometimes we get in that place where like, should we do this? But like, take on the opportunity. And I really like that. So I'm doing really good.
Yeah, of course, of course. I always try to like make my intros like very uppity and lively and stuff like that. That's kind of like my whole stitch and everything.
Yeah, it's like when you're on a team, you got to get that hype before you go and play your game?
Of course, of course, of course. You know what? Okay, so before we get to everything, quickly just share to everyone who are you, what do you do? I know I can probably explain it myself, but I want to give you the stage to do that.
Honestly, I just feel like I'm kind of like a hummingbird. I go around from thing to thing, but right now in this chapter of my life, I'm a realtor. And like you mentioned before, I've self-branded as the mindful realtor for a reason, not just to be authentic, but I really found that through the years, real estate has always been an interest to me. Back in the day, I don't know if everybody had the same thing. I'm probably giving away my age right now, but like when you came out of high school, you had to do a co-op placement in a professional designation, and I was the first student actually to ask for a brokerage. And the coordinator didn't even have a connection with the brokerage. I'm like, well, can you find one? Because that's what I want to do. Like, I don't want you to place me somewhere I don't want to be. And that's where I ended up doing my co-op. It was really amazing. Pressures, and we want you to do this as parents. You don't know what you want to do yet. So I kind of steered away, and you know what? Everything is due timing. I found my way back to it. I found that it's something I'm passionate about. So let me bring that into the business. And that's where I came with the Mindful Realtor, because in the GTA alone, we have over like 80,000 realtors. Now, whether they're actually using their license, not for sure. But I feel like the best way to learn about how to go about your business and things that you might want to do for yourself and foundational wise is like active listening and hearing what people are saying. And I was hearing a lot of the time the way realtors were being described. No offense to car salesmen, but like, car salesmen are typically described as like sleazy, whatever, kind of trying to just get the deal. And a lot of real estate people, professionals, are starting to be described that way. And I'm like, that is not all of us. And that's definitely not me. So I wanted to bring that mindfulness back to, the industry of real estate where someone can operate with someone like me, but it's like, it's beyond the transaction. We'll get to the transaction. We know that's our goal, but like, let me learn about you, your family. Let me learn about what challenges you had this week. What the next month for you looks like, what your lifestyle looks like, what your lifestyle changes could look like for you. Like, let me really learn about you as a person, because at the end of the day, I really feel like that's going to affect the transaction. Like that is going to have such a big play on the transaction. I've heard it before because they didn't really take the time to get to know the person. They got up to the point where they were probably supposed to sell their home, and they're like, no, we want to take it off. We don't want to list after all the marketing and everything has been done, because you didn't take the time to really get to know that person and where you could have discovered if this was the area for you. So, yeah, mindful realtor.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I feel like it's very appropriate for the title of this episode, tailor made for the real estate game. Like it's kind of like the way you explained it.
Oh,
There is elements where, if you're a realtor, you would assume that okay, they don't have this type of characteristic where they're just looking to get the sale. Like you kind of compared it to car salesmen where they're trying to get a commission. It's like, listen, I just need you to buy this car. So like I can get
yeah.
something out of it. But for you, it's about the mindfulness and people understanding, are you aware about said scenario? And if so, like, how can I make sure that you feel in the right state of mind to, move forward, or maybe it's like, what, I'm not so sure. And again, I mentioned before, we had someone like this on the podcast, Jayden Kennedy, and we actually talked a little bit more in terms of just the process of, understanding, down payments or trying to buy or rent or own a home. I feel like for you, you're gonna probably provide like similar things, but you're gonna have your own twists, as well,
Our
in terms
own
of like,
twist. That's my homegirl. Like, she honestly is such a mentor for me, so great. Like, she does it all. Like, she's so amazing. But like, Jaden is so wonderful because even some things that I need to do or learn or whatever, she's like an open book. She's like, here, do this, do this. We'll like send voice note. Like, she's amazing. But yeah, we just bring different things. There's a lot of us, but a mindfulness too when it comes to your connections within the business. It's never a competition. When you grow, we all grow. And honestly, especially within our culture, like two Black women that are really doing it and want to do it for the culture and just do the right thing. And for me, it's about the connection to people. So that's, the way it works for my business. So the connection to Jaden just kind of like it matches that energy that I put into the business, right?
yes, absolutely, absolutely. That's great. So before we get into the main questions, we have to start with our opening segment, which is the
Of
hot seat.
course.
So
Ooh.
don't worry, don't worry. It's nothing too intense.
Nah, nah, nah.
Um, so yeah, Talia, I got 4 questions for you. I just want you to answer them to your best ability, okay?
Of course. Let's go.
Okay, perfect. So question number one. Outside the work that you do as a realtor, tell me something about yourself in one sentence.
I'm a student of life. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I always try and find books that I can read, things that I can learn, things that I can apply. I never want to stop learning. I don't think as long as I have the breath of life in me that I can ever stop learning anything to advance myself as a person first, and then career-wise will just flow with it. So, I'm a student of life.
I like that answer. I really do, because I feel like everyone should be kind of adopting that answer in anything. Because again, we are students. We're always learning it. People assume once you reach a point where you've got your like diploma from like college or university, it's like, okay, that's it. But next thing you know, like you're in the field, you're in the workplace, so you're learning even more. And then you tell yourself again, okay, I've done this for like 10 plus years. Like I should already
And
be
that
like a
might not
master
even
at
be
this.
where you stay. Yeah, that's not even where you might stay. Like, become a student, try something else. Like, get another degree, do something.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's so important for a lot of us. We need to just keep learning and learning, like, especially for myself. Like, I feel I'm so new to the podcast realm. I've only been doing this for 3 years, but I bet people would not believe that just from the way I've carried myself and the way I've like operate things. But it's like I'm still learning a lot of things. In fact, there was a lot of things when I started off that I did not do. I didn't do the research and development aspect of podcasts. I just jumped right in just for the sake of it. So
You learn from life and experience.
exactly, exactly. Perfect, perfect. Okay, so the second question's a little spicy. It's a spicy
Okay.
one. Okay. Now, like I can understand if you don't want to answer this one because it's like I don't know, but I was just a little bit curious. My curiosity senses were kicking in on this one. So,
Okay.
was there a property that your client was interested in, but you were also interested yourself? So, for example, let's say someone you were working with said, like, I want to, I like this property right here. It looks really nice. But also in the back of your head, you're like, hey, you know what? Like, if I could live here, if I was searching the market for our house or like, or whatever, this looks nice as well. I mean, I'm just curious. Again, my curiosity just kind of kicked in.
That's really funny. That hasn't happened to me yet. But like not in terms where like I'm about to be your your competition, because that's actually funny. But I mean, I feel like because I have a passion for what I do and I really love going around and seeing the homes and like what makes them like architecturally like unique, imagining, I do that. Like even when I like see people around, I'm like, I wonder what your life looks like. So when I see houses, it's kind of the same thing, and you can kind of see like I kind start imagining things. I haven't had that happen yet. I don't think that will ever happen for me because of alignment. I don't think everything that's for somebody else will be for me. However, I have had it where I have clients who are looking in the exact same area and have taken two different clients to the same properties. I'm like, okay, let's see who ends up really liking it. But like me, no, no. I'm like really unique that way where like something I want, and that's another thing too. If I want it, I'm gonna get it. So I'm gonna hope it's not in competition with my client when I'm at that point. Yeah, no, that hasn't happened. That's a really good question. That hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, no, because like it shows you have a strong mindset as well. Because sometimes our personal preference or bias kind of comes in the way. Like I'm not gonna lie, I'll be very transparent. There are times where like I've seen a microphone that someone's like, "Hey, do you think you could like help me figure out where I can get this?" And I'm looking at it like, "Yo, I kind of need that mic myself. Like, hold on, do I steer them away? Like, yeah, 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 go over there and get it, you know?" But it's like, nah, that's
You're
mine.
so
But
funny. Yeah, no.
nah, I'm just playing, obviously. But no, it's good because
No,
you
that's not a
mentioned,
bad thing. That's not
yeah,
a
it's not,
bad thing. Like if it just shows y'all both have good taste, and also that person just put you on to something that you wasn't even in your sight.
yeah, for sure. And again, it goes back to like the student of life. Sometimes it's not just about learning new things, but maybe just someone else kind of like giving you a resource or a tool that could be like, oh, like this could actually help me with my professional development.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, the third question here. An interesting fact that you rarely share about yourself.
I don't know how interesting it is, but je parle français aussi. I mean, I don't practice it a lot, but I'm bilingual. I was in French immersion all the way from my primary years through high school, and then university. I didn't really use it. And I don't really speak a lot in it, so I kind of feel like it's become like franglais, and that's like a mix of French and English. Because I don't use it a lot, I guess that's something that's interesting about me. I'm bilingual, but I don't share it, so
I think that's very interesting for sure. Cause like for me in high school, French and I we did not connect. We did not connect. It was just like, yeah, like it's not my style. It's just not.
I hear that so much. I hear that so much, and honestly, I loved it. Like I begged to stay in it. At one point, my parents were like, "No, we're not sure. We might take you out." I'm like, "No, no, no!" Like I did it all the way through.
I have never heard parents say, you know what? No, we don't want you in French class. Usually it's the opposite way around. It's like, you're going to have to take it because it's part of your education. It's like, no, it's like, we don't want you in French
It's 'cause
class.
they didn't understand, and they were like they knew it was beneficial for me, but then when I would bring home homework and stuff, and they're like, "We have no clue." Like, not only is it, like, a different jump set for them to go back to that, like, "What is this that you're bringing?" But now you're bringing in another language, like, "W how do we help you? Help me help you."
I know. I know. That makes sense. Would you say, like, like any, like, phrases off the top of your head right now, like in French?
Like, I can have full conversation, a phrase, no, absolutely not. I can't think of, like, a catchy phrase. I mean, I can keep speaking in French. I can try and answer, like, another question. So, this one was a unique thing about me. So, quelque chose de différent, c'est, je suis bilingue, je peux parler en 2 langues, c'est en anglais et français. Anglais, c'est ma langue primaire et français, c'est secondaire et je parle pas beaucoup de français, alors c'est difficile.
I kind of understood about like maybe 70%. I caught a couple. I think what you said, like English is my main language and like
Mhm.
French is a secondary. Guys, I'm not that terrible when it comes to like sometimes you have to pick out words. It's just like
Yeah, and I also don't speak as French as, like, the Quebecois and stuff, like, like, had to think about it. As I was saying it to you, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what do you say?" Yeah. That's and they say when you don't use something, you lose it. Like, I can pick up a few terms in Spanish as well, but I understand more, like, I can say that entiendo más que por hablar. I mean, I could hear things and pick it up a little bit, but then as soon as it starts getting really fast, I'm like, "No, no, no, no. No, what? No entiendo."
yeah, 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 yeah. I understand. I understand. Okay. Okay, moving on to the final question for this hot seat segment. What is your personal safe room?
Currently, my personal safe room is like my residence. Like I will light my sage, open my windows. Like I'm a person that grew up on Sade. I'll play my music. I'll get into a mindset. What I would like for future to become a personal safe room for me is my mind. And I think that's something that will challenge us for a long time because it could be either your best friend or your worst enemy, some of the things that go through there. So I hope as I start to develop more as a person that my personal safe room is my mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, how would you say in terms of like your relationship with other realtors? 'Cause I know we mentioned Jaden, but do you feel like when it comes to different individuals as well, when you've kind of presented yourself like, okay, this is kind of my approach to things, like do you feel like there's some similarities, or do you feel like, yeah, there is like a main difference with my stuff that kind of allows me to kind of reach to the people that I need to get to?
I mean, there are similarities, and so far received well. I think for me, the mindset when I go into this is you're only as good as your network as well. Like, I'm only one person, right? I can't do everything on my own. And again, I mentioned I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I always want to take something, while also providing something and not always taking, but like learn something from the interaction. And I think to answer that like directly, like it's been pretty good. Expanding my network in terms of like financial people as well, and lawyers and how they operate, and other realtors within my brokerage and outside my brokerage. Like one of my close friends during the time when I wasn't pursuing real estate, I had taken a pause from the initial time when I did. I worked very closely with her, and she was a realtor, and like learning things, and it's just dynamics of everyone. You're not going to vibe with everyone. I mean, I certainly don't hope to, because not everything is for I just really feel like if I'm for everyone, then like who am I, you know? So well received, and so far so good. I mean, I had one experience with a realtor where I was trying to get a family a property, and I don't know what else might have been going on in her life. She just seemed very negative, and I didn't let it steer my interaction with her, etc. I still knew that my duties were to that client, and her duties were to hers. It's funny that after that happened, I actually mentioned it to another realtor, a friend of mine. I was like, okay, like how do I continue with this if this is someplace they're interested in, because that's their goal? What way would you recommend going about this that I haven't already done? And once I shared the name of the listing realtor, she's like, that is very interesting. I've had a complication in terms of real estate with them as well. So this isn't unfamiliar. It's not a you thing. All you can do is your best. And if it doesn't work that way, you just have to keep doing the best for your client. And maybe perhaps this is a good sign to show that maybe this isn't the one for them. So yeah, other than that, I mean, we have challenges with everything. Come on now.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally, totally agree. Okay, so I want to move on to the next question. This one's very specific. So, one thing that I feel a lot of people or who are listening to this podcast and probably not listening to this podcast, whoever you are, can understand that the interest rates today are there's a lot of talk behind it. Some days it's like you'll get a blessing and it won't be as bad. I'm not saying it will be perfect or even good. They're not as bad. And there's periods where they're just so ridiculous that people just kind of want to pull their hair out because in terms of frustrations. So you take the interest rates in doing with the listings of like different properties. So maybe for this property, it's a little bit too expensive or it's out of their budget and it's a little bit hard for them. So why would you believe that with the people that you work with, whether it's been a situation where they've expressed, oh, like I want to get this property, but the interest rate on this is like crazy. And like even the property itself is a little expensive. Why do you feel like in various areas for like the clients that you work with, those reasonings are justifiable, and how might someone like yourself try to like deviate that pressure on someone's mindset? Since we're talking about mindfulness, I know some people will get a little stressed about like I don't know, like what's the next move, like Talia, like I'm not sure what I can do. It's like, how do you feel that you can like approach that situation to at least again like, alleviate that pressure from someone to not feel so like stressed about high interest rates or expensive listings in combination?
I will approach this by saying information is key, and where you're getting the information is key. I feel like we're in a day and age where there's so much noise all around you that it's hard for consumers to know what to choose. We're putting different apps such as House Sigma, and things that are right in the hands of people, and it's almost like just swiping on Instagram. You're just going through. Then we have news outlets that are designed to do whatever they do, and really what they're designed to do is to reinforce the negative for a lot of people. This also reminds me of a question I'm going to get a lot throughout the holiday season. Hey, you're a realtor? How's the market? And the way I approach that is, okay, who are you asking us? Are you an investor? Are you looking to list your property? Are you looking to purchase a property? Are you somebody that's listing your property and also going to buy within the same, you know? So to start, if you're an investor, a lot of investors, as you know, let's just keep focus on the area. We live within the Greater Toronto area. We have more cranes than probably anywhere in the world right now. People don't even know that. And we are also in a shortage of homes. Like, we're in a housing crisis right now because we have an influx of so many people coming into our beautiful country. And our infrastructure just can't handle that because people are concentrating in particular areas, such as the Greater Toronto area. And I don't think it's something that even in our lifetime we're going to see a solution to. And this is where you just have to do the best with what you have. So for buyers, there's an or sorry, I said I was starting with investors. For investors, it depends on what you're looking at because interest rates are high right now. But when people say that, it makes me think that I have to have a deeper conversation with you, because what interest rates are right now is actually very normal. And you have to think about what's been happening. 2021, the end of 2021, all through 2022, we were going through a global crisis. Interest rates, and what banks did is they went around what was happening. Those were not normal. Those were not normal rates. You talk to anybody, and I can't speak for everyone. There's great people. Within my brokerage, we have what we call Signature Live. So we have twice weekly where we talk about market, different experts. And recently we just had the amazing, I'm such a fan, Dr. Sherry Cooper, and she's a chief economist that's been, chief economist for BMO, like just head of so many, like just having a conversation with her is just so normal to say, well, this is kind of how it is. This is what it might be. And at the end of the day, we don't have a crystal ball. But with what you have on hand, if you're an investor right now, some investors are offloading a lot of their properties, and others see opportunities in a lot of these pre-construction projects, because you have to think that you're purchasing right now for potential in the future. That's not what everybody is able to do right now. They're not able to wait that long to see what potentially happens. But as we know, real estate is a market that is most affected and first affected by rate changes, either in a positive way or a challenging way. I wouldn't even say negative, because real estate is the one thing that you can invest in. Unless it's a very odd situation, you're always going to make money. You're going to make money off your initial purchase, regardless when you go to sell later. Again, there's an asterisk beside that. Sometimes that doesn't work out for people because it's an investment and you have to take care of an investment. Now, for buyers right now, there's a lot of opportunity out here. You have to think that when rates are high, there's a lot of other things that come down for you, like your down payment amount or your possible mortgage payments amount, and that is not something that you're locked into forever. Can your financial situation, what you're predicting is your financial situation, able to withstand this when, you go to your term has matured and you're ready for a different term? What does your lifestyle look like? And then if you're selling in this market right now, do you have to sell right now? And if you do, okay, let's work with what you have all the time. And this is why I have such a tailored service, because first I'm going to provide you the knowledge, and I'm going to show you that right now we've had some of the lowest numbers we've seen in years in terms of the sales volume. And there's a relationship with, you list your property now, we have to be prepared for the price we're listing it for. You might have like an emotional tie to your home, and rightfully so. But there's a tactic that I use that I won't even share here, that I go in when I'm listing property with clients to help them with that emotional attachment they have to their house, and know that that's always something that they can keep and move anywhere they want to, versus in this market that we are in right now, what that looks like for pricing. I've always been taught that pricing a home accurately is very correct. Now, if that's not something somebody wants to do, my thing is, hey, let's do a shared calendar. If you want to price at this amount, and based on what I'm showing you from, the numbers, etc., you still don't agree with that, and this is what you want, that's what you want. That's what tailored service is. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what you would like to. But maybe in a week and a half, 2 weeks time, if we don't see the results that are what I'm looking out for you, because those are my lawful duties, let's revisit this. But don't be surprised when we do it, because I'm telling you in advance and I'm prepping you in advance. We're having that phone call. Don't try and avoid it. Know that this is a procedure to help attain the goal that you're looking to have. So I think it really just depends for where people are at. There's a lot of opportunity still in this market. There are still buyers out there, and there are still also buyers on the sideline. And that's okay. There are still sellers that are serious right now. An offer is an offer. And again, back to another question, connection with other realtors. When you have that connection and you can talk and you're like, hey, listen, this is the family I'm bringing. This is the offer. I understand it might not be the offer you guys are looking for, but like, let's work together, because at the end of the day, we're both representing two people that would like to have something done. Let's see if we can work together.
Yeah, that's very, very true. But I'm really glad that you kind of broke it down in a way where you had, like, for investors, this is the scenario. For buyers, this is the scenario. Because again, your audience, it spreads out to different types of people as well. So kind of assessing every situation the best possibility or best capability, should I say, is good. Again, that kind of brings back to the mindfulness. And I really appreciate you kind of going down into detail, especially again when we look at interest rates. Again, like you mentioned, 2021. So throughout 2022, it was crazy, and like interest rates, not just on housing, but I feel like everywhere you could apply interest rates, it was just crazy. So it's literally the matter of like the government had to work around and what they had. Like I think there was a point where they tried to up the interest rates to kind of lower on like consumer spending, like just make sure that people weren't buying for a certain period of time, and hopefully that would kind of balance everything out. So there would at least a point of recession, and that was even a rumor that was going around last year and in 2021, like were we heading in towards a recession? So
But there's a difference between the recession that people think that everything's going to be crazy around, but there's a technical recession. And the reason why you can see that is like, just go outside and go pick up a few groceries, you know, see what, look at the prices, that is a thing, but there's a difference between the recession that people are imagining and a technical recession and how you are affected by it. There are a lot of influences that come into this, but I just feel I'm very confident in the fact that real estate is a great investment, and as well, not for everybody. Let's really be honest, not for everybody. That's based on the conversation you have with people.
yeah, absolutely. Since we're speaking on investors, I want to continue that conversation by going on to the next question. But I know this was something that I think we even talked about as well, because again, that's not the audience that you're really trying to like target. But I'm just kind of throwing it out for who knows? There could be someone who is an investor listening, so I kind of want to give as much information as possible. But we can be brief because I do want to move on to the next parts and everything like that. So like, what was the idea where if you've come across an investor who's kind of want to know more about like the real estate market or just get a better understanding, how do you feel like the types of practice that you imply into your work, I guess, common?
I mean, I'm someone who will always figure out the pieces and figure out the pieces through the people that might know more around me. I have had questions like this come up, and I wouldn't say I work specific to investors. So this is an interesting question. It's just that I have to understand the dynamics of their business, like what type of investor. There are different type of investor. You can invest in multifamily. You can be primarily investing in pre-construction. You could be investing in commercial properties. To what degree, for one, I would have to understand. And I think the biggest thing with everybody, what's your goal? With this investment, what's your goal? Or if it's somebody that's first time home buyer and they're looking to have that additional residual income. So we would look at properties that have another unit. It just depends on the person. Do I know everything? No, I'm still learning a lot. Like, it's not new in terms of like passion and drive, but it's new in terms of territory and how long I've been licensed for, etc. But I feel like my approach to it and my approach to just life has been like, you can figure this out. I am humble enough to say that if I did the work and went around this and I don't feel I'm as proficient as I need to be to serve you well, I'm okay to say and admit that, and I'll be like, listen, I've understood this, this, this. Is this correct? They'll say yes. I'll be like, I'm going to be honest, I don't think I'm proficient enough to yield the result and the goal you were trying to achieve. Let me bring you to that network that's so trusted. Here are a few people. Let me get what's best for you. It's not about what's best for me. I am in a business that is serving. Again, it depends on an investor's goal. I will always help people to like the best of my ability. And if I can't, and I will humble myself and be like, this is just an area that, not that I ever use the word can't, that I'm just not as proficient as somebody else that can yield the best results for you, because that is my business at the end of the day. I would never take on something that is not going to be right for somebody and just on a whim. So I know how to stay in my lane.
That's good though. That's good though, because it goes back to like the top of the conversation we had. Like you're very aware that if this is not in my just my resume, if I don't understand this as well, I'm not afraid to say I can put you to someone else that could probably break it down. And I feel like with real estate, it's always like an ongoing thing where if you're not able to provide a certain piece of information, it's not really like closing the deal and saying like, okay, I guess we're done. It's, kind of saying how can we continue to at least build on it, whether it's me or someone else I could send you to get that understanding on that point that you don't have understanding on. And I think the reason why I wanted to ask that question, because when I was kind of doing my research on you, that was something that really kind of popped my eye, because like it did say investors. I was like, it's different because I feel like for a lot of realtors they kind of focus on like obviously the buyer's aspect, and understandably you're trying to see with the clients if you work with, how can you help them to attain that property. But it's like investor, it's like I never realized how could investors play into the role and everything like
Yeah,
that. It was like very
yeah.
different.
I mean, there's a direction for everything, and determining, I think the timing is also the best thing. I know a lot of people like, there's no time like now, but like, is that really true for everyone? Like, where are you in terms of your life? What will your life look like for the next few years? Like, a lot of everything we do, if not everything, requires a certain amount of work towards it, and like mindful work in it. It's not the same work for everything you do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so the next part I want to get to. So there was a reel on your social media, particularly your Instagram. It was a reel on your Instagram. It was talking about like the yays and the nays. So like what's a yay and what's a nay, and it was related to condo living. And I thought that was like super interesting, the way like the concept and how you constructed it. So I wanted to ask you, so like how much value of you creating such a reel like that does that bring to your clients who are trying to again understand a little bit more about the market, especially if it has to relate to like condo living? It's like, okay, if I want to get a condo, this reel is actually good insights in a way where I'm learning a bit, and this is actually pretty useful.
Honestly, that was a fun video, and it was inspired by another realtor friend of mine. And I almost was like, well, maybe you shouldn't do it, but I put my own twist on it. And I mean, all the best ideas have come from an idea that's been previously done. Let's just say that. Where it's like, yeah, we like to be unique or feel like we're original, but everything that is well done has come from another great idea. We see this all throughout our history. I think the benefit for it was something I could resonate with. If I was just doing it hoping to put out value, then I don't think value would be achieved, because they might not resonate with my content, and they might see it on my page and then see it on somebody else's and like it better. Or like, I am very again mindful when it comes to social media and the likes and the what's perceived on there. I think is a great tool, so that's what I'm hoping to do. And I felt like the video was great for me to do because I currently live in a condo. So I experienced the day to day of living in a condo, and service a lot of clients within the area that want to see condos within the waterfront area, wherever. And condos are a primary part of like living in Toronto. You look everywhere, there's one everywhere, one being built. So it's a good understanding to say there's a lot of, not necessarily hype, but like there's a lot of like flash when it comes to like condo living. But there's a lot of great things too, where like even for you, I was mentioning some condos are being built with like podcast studios in them, like coffee shops, like an all in one stop. You don't even got to leave your home. Like you're good. You can do multiple things. You can have meetings there. You can get your workout. You can just over in Liberty condo that literally looks like a spa inside, like a rainfall shower. That there's so many. There's a condo being built, a pre-construction that goes with like the energy. I'm forgetting the word right now, but it works with like the energy of the sun. There's a lot of thought being put in these condos, but like I said, I wanted to structure it my own way by saying yays and nays instead of saying pros and cons. Like I wanted to put my own twist on it. I feel like the yays and nays, and I even put in there, because I'm the mindful realtor, let's start with the yays. Like let's start with the positives first before we go through, the not so great. The value will always depend on the audience, right? Who's your audience? Is that valuable? But I found that would be really valuable because of a lot of the people I service, a lot of the clients and what they're looking for, and just my knowledge and the fact that I experience it all the time. So I'm able to answer a lot of questions. Not every question, I'm not a condo expert, but like I can, know the difference between somebody who probably has never in their life lived in a condo and is moving from their parents where they lived in a residential neighborhood in the same neighborhood, and it's going to be different for them. It might be great, it might not be, because now you don't get a backyard. Now you have to wait for an elevator, and you're sharing a space with how many other people, depending on the level of the condo. Your neighbor is like literally right there, but it's also not like residential. Whereas like you might go for your whole period of living there and might never actually know who your neighbor is. So like again, lifestyle, what does it look like for you? It could be great because of all the additions, or it could be better because you can get all those things from somewhere else.
Okay, okay, that's really good to hear. Because, like again, like you mentioned, value is kind of taken in a way of based on who's viewing it. Who's actually watching. So, like, yeah, even for all of us, we can probably give a synopsis on. Okay, you know what? I want to like try to target these people, or I'm trying to like make sure that the value sticks out a lot. But again, it really depends. And I think one thing I've learned is even if you have your followers and they're checking out your content, the more you put out and the different types of content, or even if it's like repurposing the same content you have, those same amount of followers aren't always going to see it multiple times. Maybe depending in the time period, someone who follows you, they may see your content for the first time. And to them, it's like, wow, it's like really useful. For maybe compared to someone who's been following you for like over 6 months to a year, they've like, okay, this is good. Like they've kind of got used to your content, what you share. Maybe once in a while they'll be like, okay, this is really good, but for the most part, just like, okay, this is really dope. But again, it really depends on
Yeah,
who's listening, who's
highly
watching it.
subjective.
Let's get on to this next part, which is our activity segment. And it's basically the yays and nays. And I want to provide different scenarios. And you could just list one yay, one nay to make it simpler. I don't want you to like stress too much on coming up with multiple yays and multiple nays. So just to make it easier on your end. Cool. So yeah, the first scenario I have, it's basically like an area outside like the urban area. So like again, downtown core, or maybe like uptown, maybe outside of Toronto, perhaps. And it could be like a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom building, or like probably house. Probably house makes sense. But yeah, if you could provide like maybe a yay or a nay, if someone wants to like live in this area or live in this specific scenario, I think that would be probably useful to anyone listening, because maybe there's someone who's like, I'm thinking about this, or like I can understand what Sean's saying, but it's just like,
Absolutely, absolutely. So living outside the downtown core, yeah, yay. Pricing, the opportunity for like lower pricing and the opportunity to be outside the noise. And a nay would be if you still are somebody who works within the city and are required to travel back. That might be a little challenging because it doesn't fit within your lifestyle.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think what's really interesting is for the yay, you said the pricing. So, like, would you actually say if you're living more like in the downtown core, like the pricing's actually better?
The prices are ridiculous. Yeah, but I mean, again, if you're a city person, you might be able to offset that by the fact that you don't really drive, so you're not worried about gas or filling up. But then, like, you're on foot or you're a cyclist throughout all of the year. Like, there's a lot. I mean, I'm gonna be able to find yays and nays for everything. It just outside the core. I grew up in London, Ontario, and I might not have liked it when I was younger because I didn't understand, especially when I would visit my, aunt and cousin in Toronto. But now that I'm older and I'm seeing the home prices and going back and visiting family and stuff that's still there, I'm like, wow, opportunity is everywhere. So yeah.
That's so true. That's so true. And like I'm glad that you clarified in terms of like the pricing. So like in terms of you don't have to like use your car when like that much when you're the downtown core, you could probably take the transit or again you could take your bike and everything. I think that's what I was curious when you said price. I'm like, I know she doesn't mean the actual property because I'm like, I'm pretty sure the properties downtown would be like at a high rate still, but like you kind of factor in other things, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, market factors with the pricing, especially rental properties, it's a lot right now. It's a lot more than people are bargaining for. And at first glance, when you are in something that's like 450 square feet, you look at the price on that and it's like, where did you come up with that? Well, it's the market. And I can walk right outside my house and there's a walk-in clinic, there's a grocery store, there's a gas station, there's several restaurants, all within walking distance. There's a whole strip of shops. So again, lifestyle, and sometimes you will pay for that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely makes sense. Okay, cool. Moving on to the second scenario that I want to provide. So, let's say someone is trying to rent out an apartment or a unit with multiple tenants. And again, since we're sticking with the downtown core, I think we could probably stick with this for the same scenario. So, someone is trying to rent out an apartment, but it says, like, you know what? I want to have multiple tenants to kind of do this together. So, like, what is the yay of doing something like that, and like what's the nay of this scenario?
Okay, so help me understand the yay for the person residing there, or the yay for the person that's listing the property.
I would probably say the yay who's listing the property. So again, they want to rent the apartment with multiple tenants.
So the yay is that the income potential because you can do separate pricing for each bedroom. It makes me think of this ridiculous meme that I just saw. I don't know if it's a meme or it's an article. Supposedly, people are renting the other side of their bed. I'm hoping it's a joke. It's just satire to talk about how expensive prices are. But again, I digress. It reminded me of that when you said multiple rooms. I think the income potential, there's a little bit of flexibility with that in terms of like maybe not everyone. That also reminds me of like students, like we within the GTA there's so many different post-secondary places to go, and that would give me more students and investors in terms of the price they can charge per room if they wanted to do it that way. And nay for them is going to be, you have to remember when you do things like that, any tenant you have, any investment you have to pay for wear and tear of that. And when somebody moves out and to go back in and paint, or remember, it doesn't actually belong to them. Some people are really great and take care of things wonderfully, and some people just see it as this is a good time, not for a long time, so who cares? It's not my investment, right? So I think the nay is just being really mindful about what that can do to your investment and how quickly the wear and tear can happen when you have that many people using, for example, just the facilities of like showering in the toilet, stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And again, I hope that meme in terms of like renting the other side the bed is a myth.
That one I will never understand. I chose not to read the article because I thought it was ridiculous. I understood the joke behind it because prices are so expensive. But oh goodness, yeah, I couldn't imagine that scenario. I mean, I've seen it when people are renting out their den or their like you said, they're renting out, it's a condo building and they're renting out the other bedroom and everything else is shared. So it's like you're really in that space with somebody you don't know, right? You're hoping that worked out.
Okay, so I want to get into like this closing topic before I have one more activity and wrap things up. We've kind of talked about it in small chunks for this episode, but I do want to talk about the reputation of the real estate industry because I know we mentioned at the top of the episode there are certain realtors who have honestly a genuine, heart and wanting to like help their clients, but then there's others that just kind of like, yeah, I'm just trying to get the sales and everything like that. So I wanted to ask you, like, you're not so fixated on just what one realtor is doing good and what one realtor is doing bad, but more so of just how can I make my own reputation as a realtor? How can I make sure I'm getting in the good works with people that I want to work with rather than just focusing on the overall like landscape of like, oh, what a good realtor needs to be or what does a bad realtor look like and trying to not be on like what I'm trying to say. I know I'm kind of like mixing my words a bit, but I hope I'm trying to like make sense of the whole thing.
No, it definitely makes sense. Like, if I'm not misunderstood, like, is how do I differentiate myself from everyone else in the industry kind of thing? Or, like, what would I like to bring to the business?
Yeah, like what would you like to bring? I don't want it to be a situation where I'm trying to say like how do you differentiate yourself because I know that's something we even talked about a lot. Just like what can you provide?
I feel like at the end of the day, I would always like to think that, I know they like to say keep business business and like everything else separate, but like, you got to really think that this is somebody that you're trusting with a very large investment. And I don't know, my mind just works that way where I like think about scenarios just like, how people's lives are, etc. And I always imagine, I'm like, my goal is to be the realtor where you can later feel comfortable and be like, oh my god, everyone, this is my realtor, and invite to like barbecues or like gatherings and stuff. And like, I always imagine, it's so weird. I always imagine the affluent housewife who's like, oh my god, everyone, this is my realtor at like their annual large barbecue at their amazing property with how many acres, and they're introducing me to everyone. This is my realtor, this is the only person I trust. Help us get this property, our next property, our children's property. And then she's kind of whispering to me, she's like, you might want to talk to so and so because don't say anything, but I think they're getting a divorce, so they might need something, or like they're having a baby, and just I'm in the know because I've developed that relationship where, I mean, it's a funny scenario, but that's what I imagine. Like, that's the way my mind works sometimes. And it's just that crazy scenario is just that you have to realize people only work with those they trust, and you're not going to get that trust from everybody, but that factor is most important because it's such a large investment. And in this business, it's repeat referrals. I would love to be somebody that my business is mainly repeat referrals because I will check in with people. I'll see how it's going. I'll be like, happy 1 year to your house. Okay, I see it's 5 years. I see your term is coming. But they know that they're like, wow, like she really remembered this stuff. Or like things they told me about their family. Like, I think that's what differentiates me. Like, I really want to be like, you were talking to somebody really close to you that knows you very well, because then I can better serve you and what you're looking for in terms of an investment, in terms of your family home, in terms of where you want to make your memories. So I think my differentiation is really bringing back that connection to people in the business for me. Like, I really want that connection because I really feel like it's kind of like word of mouth is more powerful than anything else. Google reviews, somebody leaves a really great review versus you get that one bad one. Like, word of mouth is very powerful. The first thing we do when we watch a movie is what? We're like, oh my gosh, that was so amazing. You gotta go see that, whatever, whatever. I want to be that film. I want to be that experience. Oh my gosh, I had the most amazing experience with my realtor. Like, there were definitely challenges, but she knew how to pivot and like help me feel comfortable throughout it all because she understood this, this, and this about me. So it's like, regardless of what might have been a little worrisome, I trusted her the whole way. So those are people you really want to keep around you. And I just mean in life in general, those that you can really trust. We go through stuff in this lifetime. Can we trust those that are around us to make good decision or carry forth our legacy when we're not in the room, and like who we are in a positive way? So I know that was long, but that's me. That's what I want to bring to this business and everything I do.
Well, that's good to hear because again, I feel a lot of businesses in general should be applying that. I want like that customer service. I want it to be where I'm working with you. It doesn't just feel like, okay, you're here for a specific time, for a specific period. And then once everything is done, when the deal is closed, it's just you kind of move on. You're taking that initiative, Talia, for yourself to say, like, I want it to be where you're able to check in with your clients and like see how they're doing. It's more than just like the business aspect. It's like, can we build a relationship? And I think that's one thing a lot of, customers and clients are appreciated now more days. They want, businesses who support them outside of just the transactional, but more in terms of like the personal. Now, obviously, like, there needs to be that fine line where you don't want to get too deep and too personal with everything. But I think for you, you've been able to establish that balance where it's like, hey, like, how are you doing? How are things? Like little check ins like that. It brings a lot. It kind of shows that you still want to build that relationship. You still want to build something between that individual. And they can recognize that in a way where they can appreciate, the service that you're providing. And I feel that's something a lot of entrepreneurs, including myself, that I'm trying to just do even more. I don't want it to be where I meet someone, it's just like, okay, we did the podcast. Goodbye. Get off my timeline. It's like, no, like let's check in. Like let's keep this relationship
Yeah,
going.
absolutely. And I think it really comes down to that trust factor. I feel like I want people to be able to also trust that I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Again, that comes to I'm just not taking you for the business. I know things are challenging out here. So a lot of people do. I don't have the power to differentiate what's a great realtor versus what's not, but I know how to speak for myself, and that's the only person I can speak for, and I can really say that I'm not in this just to get the business. When people That's how I really provide value, because a lot of people will be like, okay, well, we'll dock their fee or whatever. But like to me, and that way that resonates is like, if you're willing to discount, like what value am I then lacking with what you're willing to discount? Like what will not be done? So I think I really want to position myself, and also too to be honest with when I do that initial meet with people, to be like, this is not something I can do for you. However, let me provide you somebody who can. I'm not always going to be able to take on everything. And I think in real estate, we also don't have a crystal ball. We can provide you with what we have, but we can't interpret everything. But you have somebody that understands what it is, and this might not work for you, or you get into a situation that did, and it doesn't in a little bit of time. You trust, you can come back to me and be like, this is what's happening. What do we do? And they can feel like they can do that and come back and be like, okay, this seemed like it was great. This is where my challenge is.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, perfect. So those are all the questions I have for today. So Talia, thank you so much for coming on this safe room. You were absolutely amazing, and I had a really fun time.
Thank you, as did I. Thank you. It was my absolute pleasure. It's a pleasure to be among some wonderful guests that you've had on here, and to know that I'm part of that group. And, I hope someone will listen to this and take something from it, and also be willing to contact their mindful realtor, because, like, wow, that like really resonated for me. Or those who don't, share it with somebody else. Like, give the gift that keeps giving. Give it to somebody else. Doesn't work for me, but this might be for you. But it was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Let's see what I'm like in the future, and see how this mindfulness carries on, right?
Yeah, definitely for sure. Where can people find you on social media?
People can definitely find me on Instagram. They can find me on Facebook. They can also find me on TikTok. I'm still working on putting more content out there. So give me a little grace. But on Instagram, it's tailored by, but BUY, tailored by Talia. Pardon me, the same with TikTok. And then my Facebook is just, it's the same thing, tailored by Talia, the business page. Yeah, and I follow back and I have conversations and I check them when I can. So, yeah, definitely connect with me. I would love to connect with people who are amongst your audience. For sure, I would see the value in that.
Yeah, of course, of course. Thank you again, Tyre, for coming on. And thank you to everyone listening to the Safe Room this week. You can check us out on Instagram at the Safe Room Official. You can also check us out on TikTok. I'm starting to get back into content as well. So, Tyler, you and I are on the exact same page when it comes to TikTok and uploading. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. I've made a declaration moving forward. I'm gonna try to upload one video a month. I have to at least try in some capacity. So
That's it. Like, I gotta record some content today too, and I was like, oh, even with Instagram, I'm like, wait a minute, there's been too much time. And like going through, I'm like, I don't know, I need some more new ones other than what, in there I can repurpose some. But yeah, I know that one. I know that one.
I
Well,
know,
Sean,
I
thank you
know.
so much. Honestly, it was great being on here. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, of course. Thank you again, and thank you to everyone listening. And we'll see you guys next time.